good, everybody? We back at it, Outspoken Vibes, On this one, we got so much to say, and we want to get right into the topic.
We got so much to say.
My girl here, she's got a lot to say. She's got her personal opinion on what she wants to explain. And so instead of me starting off the whole topic, I'm going to pass it down to her and explain.
Okay, so this topic for this video, we're going to talk about how there's a difference between divorced parents and then parents that are together. So with my situation, I have divorced parents. And so growing up, it was really hard, obviously, because I didn't have both my parents. I would visit my dad and stuff.
How often would you visit your dad?
It was every other weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would just spend a weekend with him. And
so once every 2 weeks, basically? One whole weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
and then during the summer, I would spend a month over there.
Oh. Whoa. How would that work? You were in school?
Yeah, I was in school. No, during the summer. Yeah, so because during the summer you have 3 or 2 months.
No, you said in December though.
I said during the summer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Wait, when did I say December? Now?
Yeah.
Oh no, I said during the summer.
Oh, okay, during the summer.
But yeah, but I feel when growing up, there would be times where my parents would kind of not fight, but they would argue. So I felt I was always put in the middle, so it kind of just made things hard on me personally, because it seemed like I kind of had to choose sides, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want to do that, obviously, because they're both my parents and I both love them equally. So when that would happen, I feel I didn't really know what to do, because I was young, and so I had really nobody to talk about that stuff with. Especially when you're young, you don't really talk about things like that when you have friends or something. And growing up, all my friends had both of their parents, so I feel nobody could relate to me. And thinking about it now, I think everybody that I know has both of their parents. So
okay.
Yeah, so even now, I can't even really talk about it without someone not being able to relate to me. The only person is you, and you can try to put yourself in my shoes, but you don't know exactly how I feel,
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with me having both parents. It's of course I don't know exactly how you handle the situation, just because I've never been through that situation. But me personally, I like to put myself in people's shoes, just because I like to understand,
and try to help as much as you can.
No, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna keep going. Don't get me wrong, I'm so blessed that I have a stepdad, because if I didn't have him, then I wouldn't know what to do with my life, he helped out so much. He's helped out, helped me choose the right path, and just helped me through tough situations and stuff. So, and obviously, of course, my mom too, because I live with my mom and my stepdad. So having that dad figure in my life means so much to me, because that's what I crave, a dad figure, someone that tells me I love you, or hugs me out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong, my stepdad, he does that. Not being able to live with either living with your mom or your dad, and then I feel you're kind of more closer to whoever you're living with, which parent you're living with,
Yeah.
So, of course, I live with my mom. I tell her everything. I tell her how my day is, tell her what's going on. But, of course, with my dad, it's harder, because, I don't see him as much as I want to. And so I wish I had a stronger bond with him, but at the same time, like, I'm growing up and then he has things that he needs to do, you know? So
Yeah, so it's kind of like you want to be closer in a way, but you really can't just because he has to work, he has to take care of his own kids too. And of course, you got to take care of your own stuff too. Like,
yeah,
and you're pretty busy most of throughout the day, you know.
it's just hard because you have to find a time where y'all are both free to like see each other and stuff. So
Since me, I never faced that, or like I never been in those shoes before. Like, how is it that you handle that situation? Like, how do you control yourself from like snapping? Because I know it's not easy. Because you know I can kind of relate in a way, just because my sister, she doesn't have her husband anymore, and I see how they struggle in their situations, and like since you have a stepdad, and how do you handle that situation on not being able to keep being sad, or let it get to your head in a way, like as in let you stop you from keep pushing and be better and better every day?
because right now it's not affecting me as much as it like affected me, like, I guess when I was in middle school or high school. But I'm trying to think, like, the way that I handled it was probably like just letting it all out, like, of course, like, I'd cry like in my room, and I would just like let it out, not holding my emotions in.
How would you let it out in your room? Like, besides crying, like, would you write it down somewhere, or like would you just speak to yourself in the room?
I would just have my mind, like, just talking about it myself.
Oh, okay,
yeah, like,
okay.
trying to distract myself, like
No, yeah.
going on my phone or something. And
Try your best not to think about it. But that's kind of like hard in a way too, because once you put yourself like in that situation where you distract yourself from like your thoughts, I feel like
they're
it's
still there.
Exactly, it's still there, and I feel like it's still gonna be there. You're just kind of pushing it back to the side in the back corner, and so I mean, it's good in a way, like that. Yeah, you try your best not to think about it, but it's kind of like you can't really run away from your own thoughts, because eventually it's going to come back to you in a certain way or a different day. I don't know where least expect, because with thoughts in your head, you just like float and they just pop up in your head.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I get it, but like, I feel like you should just release it I feel like you should have handled that situation, like as in speaking to somebody about it. Like, if you don't feel comfortable with your parents, maybe.
But like I said, like, I had nobody to talk to about it because they couldn't relate.
No,
so
yeah,
I just felt like
true.
it was kind of useless in a way, because most likely all they would say is like, oh, damn, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like they can't relate.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, like, when you're speaking your own thoughts, it's like, yeah, it feels good, but it would feel better if they were like, oh, why do you feel like this, or how do you think like that, like,
or like, oh, this is what I do too.
Exactly, like, go into detail with it. But like, I feel like more often people distract us as in like, oh, well, I'm sorry, if you need anything, you could always talk to me. And if you want to talk more about this, you can always feel comfortable speaking to me about it. But yeah, they're always there, don't get me wrong, they're gonna be there, but it's not the same as in like going into detail about the certain situations, how you handled your situation, or how you manage to control yourself from those thoughts, or like how can you grow from it instead of just hearing the same thing you always hear often, what I'm saying? And so, like you said, and you don't really have friends they can speak to and relate to. It's also kind of hard, like, to find the right friends for those type of topics, because you never know. It's
something so personal too.
Exactly, you never know how that friend would react with that situation, or how they look at you different, just because now they see the true colors of who you really are. And I feel like a lot of people like that, just like they keep themselves isolated just because it's hard to trust people. Because I feel like with people, they find it hard for them to like trust somebody just because of their looks.
Yeah.
Just because they look like this, that means they're gonna judge them in this way. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people think as in like, oh, he looks too cool for me, I don't think he's a person I can talk to about this. And
when it's really not like that. Like, you just have to get to know the person and just not be scared or afraid to approach that person, because your whole mindset can change once you like go to them like, oh damn, like I really thought negative about this person, when they're not really like that at all.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I feel like some people think that they have a perfect life just because of how they show their persona out there. But I mean, everybody has their personal issues and their certain ways on how they feel, you know, some type of way about themselves, you know?
And they don't want to show it too.
Exactly. But once you're alone in your room or once you're alone somewhere, them thoughts run into your head. And a lot of people, you know, they could say they're not depressed. They could say they're not, you know, insecure. They could say that, you know, they don't feel no type of way. But deep down, everybody has some negative thoughts in their head that runs in their head.
No, yeah.
You know? And they just don't want to say or show it just because they don't want to show that persona of they're really who they are and how they really think. Just because they're afraid of somebody judging them.
Yeah, and they don't want people to think like that they have those insecurities or that they think negative about themselves.
Yeah.
They want other people to think like, yeah, I'm like perfect and I'm not going through anything, you know? Because they just keep it to themselves, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like with that, it's just like they keep it in to the point where they don't show that persona. So I feel like it's because they're afraid of showing who they really are and they don't want to be judged by the person they really are. Because I feel like that's a thing. And so, like, yeah, like, back to the topic, like I was saying with the dad and mom thing, you know, since I have both of my parents, it's a lot harder to understand somebody who's faced it. And so that's how I can kind of relate in your shoes, like, as in, like, how it could be, like, not having, like, both of your parents together. That's why with me, like, I'm really blessed that I do have both of my parents, just because I can't even imagine how hard it is. Like, I can't even imagine, like, how it is having to feel like you're an option, as in, like, you got to pick people. Like, you got to pick one of your parents on who you want to live with and stuff. Like, it's so crazy to me, like, the fact that people got to go through these things, you know, and you never expect, you know.
And even at a young age, too. Well, majority, like, this happens at a young age, you know. Yeah. But it's harder because you had to kind of just grow up and make it reality.
And it's so crazy because, like, you know, when you're a kid, too, like, you don't really think about, you know, stuff like that. You're more happy thinking about toys and, like, you know, thinking about stuff like that.
And, like, once you get older, you kind of realize, like, oh, damn, like,
this really happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, like, and when they separated, I was young, like, I was a baby. But then growing up, like, realizing, oh, okay, like, damn, my parents are really not together.
But I feel like it's also good in a way that people face stuff like that. I'm not saying it's good, you know, but I feel like if you handle it well, it's good, you know. The way I say that. I feel
like now, I do. Like,
yeah. That you're in their shoes basically now. Like, it's your turn to make the option.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, I feel like everything happens for a reason. So now I know that later in the future, I don't want that for, like, my kid. I don't want my kid to go through divorced parents because it's hard.
So I say I want to be prepared when I have a kid, just so they won't have to deal with that situation or me having to, you know, downgrade on stuff just so I can support my kids.
Yeah.
Just because I already seen it, I already seen how it is, you know, and I don't want to phase it, you know.
Like, I don't want my kid going back and forth and stuff, or feeling like if, like, they hear me arguing with you, I don't want them to hear that, you know, like, be like, damn, like, my parents are arguing. I feel like
over me and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And it makes just, like, the kid feel bad about themselves. Like, oh, like, they're arguing because of me. Like, that's what they think of, because that's what I would think of. I'd be like, damn, like, this wouldn't have happened because I feel like they're just arguing over me, you know? But, I mean, it's not that. Now that I know that they weren't arguing over me, they were just arguing because that's just
that's how it is.
Yeah.
When you don't connect. And so, like, now that, you know, we're grown, it's crazy because, like, the thing with me, since, you know, I know that you don't have both your parents, you have a stepdad, you know. That's good in a way, just because he also keeps you as in building your character and building your person as in the person you are. And, you know, it's kind of rare finding a stepdad like that, just because most of the stepdads, you know,
and a good one, too. Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean, I've heard stories, like, on the internet, or, like, on YouTube or something, like, where the stepdad is just really bad, like, it doesn't even care, like, treats, like, the kid bad. He obviously is in, like, my blood, so he could choose not to care, you know?
Yeah.
But he chooses to care about me, and, like...
He helped you build as, like, the character you are today. Like,
yeah.
as in, always push you in school, like, you know, keeping you and focused on the right tracks and keeping you away from, like, the negativity, too. Like,
yeah.
as in...
Oh, to, like, never give up either, like, exactly. On stuff, like...
Yeah. And you don't really see that off of, like, a stepdad, you know?
No, yeah. It means a lot because... there's been a time where, like, I wanted to give up on school, but he taught me that if I just put my mind to it and believe in myself, then I can do anything that I want in life. Like, school, like, I thought, like, it wasn't for me, and it could so many people could say that school isn't for them, but school can be for them unless they choose it to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like putting himself in a mentality.
Yeah, because anybody could do school, anybody could do college, you know, you just have to put your mind into it. And that's what I did. Like, I failed a class and I thought, I was like I can't do it, like, I'm just dumb, like, there's no way that I can pass this class, and I was just telling myself those negative things, and it showed. It's kind of like putting it out to the universe. So, like, you just have to tell yourself that you can do it. And then that's what I did. And I passed the class, like, with the high B. So I almost had an A. That's, like, the number one thing that he taught me was to never give up. Like, you can...
It's an uncomfortable situation, so it's always good being uncomfortable, like, not like in school, just because it builds your brain, as in, like, building your character, as in, like, keeping you pushing no matter how hard or uncomfortable it is. So, like, what do you feel like it's, like, the biggest obstacle that you have faced and succeeded, or how did you handle that obstacle?
I think it's, like, the same thing that happened, like, with me, like, failing a class, because in that time, like, I was just so, like, out of it. Like, I just had no motivation at all, and I knew it, and I felt that was, like, my lowest point in life, honestly. Like, I was like, dang, like, I'm really not doing anything. Like, I just had no motivation. I just wanted to lay in bed and just go out and try to avoid school, like, and that's exactly what I did, and that was the toughest time in my life. I felt so disappointed, like, in myself. I was like, damn, like, you really did this to yourself when you really could have
done more.
Yeah, you could have done more. You could have actually put in the work, and I didn't. I chose not to because of those negative things that I said to myself, and me making excuses and saying, like, oh, like, I don't have time, like, I'm not gonna do it, I'll do it later. And it ended up being like later, and it was the end of, like, the semester. That was the hardest obstacle that I went through. What made me, like, think those things was, like, me just saying, like, school isn't for me, you can't do it, like, dude, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this, basically? Like, why am I doing school? Like, there's no point. Like, I was just in that mindset. Like, remember I was telling you that? Like, I just feel like there's no need for school. I don't want to do school. I can't do school. Like, I was just telling myself that.
What distractions led to that?
Just small distractions, like my phone or wanting to go out, like, and hang out with you. And I was just like, oh, like, I'll just do my schoolwork later. And, like, or like work, I was like, oh, I have work today, like, I don't feel like doing any schoolwork.
Focusing on the wrong things, just as in, like, you're focusing on the temporary thing that's just gonna last maybe, you know, an hour, a couple hours. You're just too busy focusing on little stuff that's
exactly
gonna last for the meantime. You're not thinking about what's gonna last in the long term, as in, like, school.
Yeah.
I got you.
And, like, how I overcame that, like, I completely changed. Like, I knew to not do that ever again. Like,
What made you get in that shoe, like in those shoes, to not think that again?
well, my stepdad helped me. Like, we had long talks, you know? So, if it wasn't for him, then I probably wouldn't even care. Like, he just taught me so much, like I said earlier. And so, when it came to the next semester, like, my parents were, like, on my head, like, making sure that I was on top of my classwork and everything. And if anything, like, I was ahead of my classwork. Like, I showed them, like, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to be unmotivated. I'm going to be 10 times more motivated.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, like, I knew not to go back into
That mindset.
Because that was the worst time of my life, honestly.
And like,
I just felt so dumb. Like, I was like, bro, like, why did you do that? Like, there was just no reason to do that, you know?
That's a good thing about situations like that, just because they build you up as a character. But it's also so hard to get out of those situations because you don't know how to get out of those situations with certain people. You know, like, leaving something that's really negative is hard just because you fill yourself up with so much negative, and you fill up your thoughts with so much negative, and it just keeps adding up. It keeps adding up.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy how, like, you know, you made that situation into, like, a life lesson learned instead of, you know, just keep doing the same old mistake.
And also, I feel like if it wasn't, yeah, exactly. And I feel like if it wasn't for having supportive parents and having parents that, like, check up on you and ask you, then I would just be doing my own thing, you know?
You'll think you'd be doing the right thing, but you're really not.
Yeah,
because you don't know what's right or what's wrong.
So, and of course, like, they're adults and they know. So
just go to school. You'll do homework last minute, like, when it's almost the due date.
They just, like, kind of give me that push, you know, and that motivation to keep going, and it helps a lot because I don't want to give up, and they, of course, don't want me to give up. So it's a good mixture, you know?
Yeah. And the thing, like, with stuff like that, instead of, like, you know, having your parents keep telling you, me personally, the way I like to do it, I like to put it in such hard situation, as in, like, I like that, like, for them to, like, let me know, like, yeah, you're doing this wrong. Let's have a talk, you know? And, you know, of course, from there, that's when you learn. You gain that information on what they say, or, you know, what they got to teach you.
Yeah.
So I'll take that lesson and I'll let them know, like, you know, all right, I got it. Y'all don't got to keep reminding me, because, you know, it only takes one time for them to explain to me on a certain thing for me to fix.
Yeah.
And from there, instead of always having them, like, reach out to me like, hey, do this.
No, because, it gets annoying.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of having that happen repeated times, I'm like, let me handle it. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to handle the situation with our own selves, you know? Because we're not going to be with our parents forever, you know?
No, yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, you want to mature quickly just because you don't want to always keep having that same support from your parents, just because if that's the case, you're depending on your parents to become a better person, you know? And that's what I feel like a lot of people, too, as in, like, I want to say me, but, like, yes, my parents are together, you know, they help me build and everything, but I like to learn on my own just because I like to put myself in heavy challenges to the point where it's hard, you know? And so...
Do you think you'd be better if you had, like, your parents, like, be more on you? Like, how... Do you think you would have gone or be farther?
That's a good question.
I know.
I don't know, just because, like, it hasn't happened. But as in,
but
how's
I'm saying,
going,
do you think it would help you?
In a way it would, but it just depends on it. Just because I'm not in school, so it's a little bit different.
No,
for me.
I'm not saying, not even with school. I'm saying, like, just your life.
I feel like I don't need their push, just because I know my priorities. I know what I have to get done. You know, when I had to wake up early in the morning for work or something, you know,
Oh yeah,
I wake up.
Yeah.
I like to wake up on my own. I don't like them having to call me. I like to do it on my own. I do my bed just because I feel like it's more responsible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I like to keep myself organized because if I see something that's wrong in my room or something, I get really bothered.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with me, I like to handle it myself. I don't like having my parents come in my room, clean it up. I remember my mom used to clean my room, and I'm like, yo, like, I would get so mad because, like, she'll move my stuff around, and I'm like, yo, like, let me clean it up. Like, I can do it. It just, like, bugs me knowing that they come in my room, try to clean it up. You know, I get it. I appreciate it. You know, can't say I don't, but I just like to keep myself, because I like that my mom having to come in and clean my room. I feel like I'm unorganized, so that makes me feel like you're not doing my job.
Something right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. When I was in sales, my first sales, you know, job, they would always be like, "Hey, you know, go talk to people, and it would get so annoying. It would get so annoying. Because like, I'm like, yo, get off my head.
And you're like, I know. Like I know.
Yeah, I know what to do. Like, yeah. And it would get so annoying, but down the road,
it helped.
It definitely helped. And you don't see it right then and there, but down the road, you'll see the result on the change. And, like, that's why I'm saying that's good in a way, just because down the road, you're going to see the change, and you want to have to depend on that. And they know that you don't have to depend on them. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, once they see that, that's, like, big trust and respect from, like, your parents to you, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like that really builds you up as a persona and a character. I wanted to speak about, like, my hard situation, like, my hard obstacle. My obstacle was when I got into insurance. It was a good, you know, experience, just because it built me up, as in, you know, my mentality and how to handle certain situations. And I didn't really like insurance. I didn't like it just because it wasn't something I like to do. The reason I say that is because everybody going in talks Spanish, and it was hard for me to, like, speak Spanish. Like, I can talk Spanish, but it's not fluent to the point where I'm good. And so I wasn't really fluent with my Spanish, and so it was kind of hard for me to, like, you know, break that out of me. Like, I had to, like, make sure.
It was hard to speak to people?
Yeah, and I felt uncomfortable just because I felt like I would get judged by them just because my Spanish isn't good, you know? And so through that, the whole thing, you know, I had to get licensed to be an agent. And throughout that whole experience, it was just, it was a tough situation for me. And I would explain to you every day on how I feel with the situation. And it felt so crazy to me just because it's such a hard obstacle for me, because I had to do so much online training, and all those classes were based on, you know, the insurance stuff, right? They were based off of all that, and it would give me like a quiz, and you need to pass. You can only get like 3 wrong, and if you get more than 3 wrong, you have to retake it. And so it was just like a long quiz that I had to take, and it was just so stressful because I would look at the screen the whole time, and knowing that the words change every time you have to retake it. You know, it's not the same answer, so it's not like you can just record the answers and get it. They always change the answers up, and I did it multiple times, and it was so stressful, so hard. But I feel like I got guided through the right path on that, just because the guy I was working with helped me out as in, like, how to handle situations, on how to handle stress. Just because I was stressed out so much. I remember I would always explain to you on how I was stressed out. But yeah, with the whole, you know, quiz thing, like, it was just so hard just because I put all my time and dedication for this license.
Yeah.
And it was hard in a way just because I kept seeing the same thing, but just different. I would just stress out, like, so much about, like, you know, having to see the same thing over and over again, like, over and over again. And I was working there for at least 6 months, you know. Like, I was there for 6 months, just about. And the crazy thing, through all those 6 months, I was stuck in the whole training. Every time I would go to work, I always keep myself like, let's get it. Like, you know, keep myself positive. I was always positive, like, you know, throughout the whole mentality and, like, of being there, you know, talking to people sometimes when they ask me a question. When it came down to the actual test, it it was hard for me because it was at least like a 100 question test about the weirdest words ever, like the weirdest words you will never know of, you know. And having to memorize all those things and all those topics, it was hard for me personally, just because, I don't know, it was just something that I really struggled on.
Yeah.
And trust me, when you know this, like, I would take notes, I would study so hard, probably like the most hardest I ever studied on something.
Yeah.
Having to just retake that test, like, I would have to pay money. I would have to pay like $84 every time I take the test. And I failed that I failed that test at least 6 to 7 or to 8 times until I actually passed it.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because, like, I manifested it. Like, you know, every day I would go to work throughout those 6 months. I would pray to God. I'm like, God, you know, bless me today. Help me, you know, learn something new today. Let me be a better person on my situation, on what I got to handle today. And, you know, I would always just pray and pray and pray. And, like, you know, a point in time with me when I was taking the exam, like, I'm just like, wow, like, I'm doing all this praying, but, like, it's not working. Like, what's going on? And I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand, like, why my message wasn't getting across.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really think about it like that, just because I personally had to be patient, because I know how to be patient. But it was just sometimes those thoughts would come into my head just because it's a 6-month period, you know?
Yeah.
All this happened in 6 months, and I was thinking, I'm like, man, like this is...
You're taking forever,
It's taking forever, yes. Yeah. And I feel so miserable, like...
You would put yourself down, like, you would be like, I can't do it, I'm stupid, like, this is hard, this isn't for me. But... at the same time, like, once you realize, like, you were failing and stuff, you were like, all right, I'm gonna pass this. Like, that was your number one goal.
No, yeah, that literally was my number one goal. But, like, it was just so hard just because I felt so stupid. I just felt so dumb. I feel like, you know, how could I not understand this? And, like, you know, I would literally cry over this stuff, like, just off anger. I would be so angry on myself, and I'd be so pressured into myself. I'm like, why do you gotta be so dumb? Like, why can't you just understand this for one time and one time only?
Yeah.
And it was just so hard for me to take it in mentally, but I know I had to, like, you know, keep myself pushing, just because, you know, if you really want something, you gotta accomplish it. You gotta push it, P that John. Push it, P that John. KTB, keep that boy. Now I'm playing. But yeah, like I was saying, that really got me off topic. No, but yeah, like I was saying, it was just so hard because, like, I would take it so in, like, it would make me cry, like, you know, just off so much anger, like, as soon as I left my job.
And it literally just, it would put me down, because seeing you like that, like, it just hurts.
No,
just like, there's nothing I can do.
Just,
you know?
be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And me explaining to you would it not make sense to you because you're not experiencing it. You just, like, hear it, you know? You're not in the office. You're not sitting down at the table, you know? You're not. And there was days where I would leave, like, unaccomplished, and I was just, as soon as I get in my car, I'll just scream out, like, fuck, like, just out loud. And
there
it was
were
just
days
so
that
angry.
you even, like, stayed, like, longer, like, stayed after y'all were closed.
Yeah, I would be from literally an hour before open and an hour later than close. So I'll be there for, like, at least 10 hours.
An hour after.
An hour after. And I'll be there just 10 hours just studying this stuff. And it was just, like...
Weren't there times where you didn't eat lunch?
I didn't eat... No, yeah. Just because I didn't want to spend money. I just wanted to keep myself organized and keep myself focused on this. And I get it. It's unhealthy. It's not the right way to handle it. But I took this too serious to the point where, like, this was my main priority. Like, you know, there was a point in times where the guy that really put me on this agency, like, you know, on this insurance thing, he was like, hey, man, I see you down. Like, what's wrong? Speak to me. And from him, this is where I learned to write everything down, everything I stress about down. Because I was stressing about my car, my stuff. Like, I was just so much stuff going on around me during an era when I was working there, like I almost just got myself in tears explaining to him, just like off the anger and stress I was in.
Yeah.
And having to make sure like the manager that's in charge of everything, not to let her down, because like, dang, like, you know, we're giving you more, you know, learning stuff, or we're doing the most we can, and we're being so patient with you. It's taking this long. It should not take this long. It should take 3 weeks. And I know, and it made me feel like pressured even more, just because like it's taking me so long. But yeah, it was just such a hard time, and it's just like, I mean, I appreciate that moment just because, like I said, when the time came, I manifested it. I was like, I would get this grade, you know, and whenever it came down to the test, because I had to go to a separate office, I had to go to a separate place to take that test, and it was just for test only. And I would write it down. I was like, all right, I'm gonna pass. I put 70, 80, 90, 100. I put those numbers down just so I can pass. And I circled all of them. And I was like, all right, just calm down. Just take a breath. Just pray. Pray to God. He's handled this situation. He's going to handle it for me. I just got to be patient with him. I got to be patient with myself. And really keep my mind and focus on everything I just learned.
I did the same thing, but I said it, and like I recorded myself before taking my test for math. And that was my class that I failed like that semester, like one of the classes. And so I was taking it, and it was my first test, and I was scared. No, it was my second test, and I was scared. So I like manifested, like I recorded myself in my car, and I was like, I will get a 70, 80, 90, or 100 on this test. And I ended up getting, I don't remember, it was either a 70 or 75, one of those. And like literally,
put your mind into it.
Yeah, like, or like manifest too, if you believe in manifesting, because I truly believe in manifesting and saying things out into the universe, because it will come to you, you know?
Yeah. And also, like, I also let God handle my situations, just because I cannot, you know.
Yeah, and God too.
Yeah, like,
I pray to God too. Like at that time, like I pray to God and I manifested. Whatever you believe in, like, it'll help.
Yeah, for sure. I took the exam, and I get it. I didn't pass with the best grade, but I passed with a 70. And yes, it's a point away from me failing, but I manifested it because I wrote that number down. You know, I wrote that number down. I prayed to God, and just I got chills and goosebumps all over me as soon as I passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like it just hit me so hard. Like I was like, whoa, I did it. Like I passed. Like just a big relief out of my chest. Like it felt so good that I passed. And it was something that I finally accomplished, knowing that I worked for it, you know?
Yeah. That's
when I realized how it really is to really, you know, manifest and dedicate something to the point where you feel like if you want it, if you really want it that bad, work for it. And so that's exactly what I did.
And you never gave up too?
I never gave up. I failed. But said what failing does, it makes you become a better person. So it restarts you and resets you as a better person. So like it resets you as in like now you know what you need to fix. And it took me 6 months. 6 months to complete that exam. Like I honestly know I'm not dumb, but doing all that stuff, it was just extremely overwhelming just because of all the pressure I got, all the people I'm letting down.
Even from your parents too.
Yeah, and it was just so stressful because like nobody could understand this, just me, because and the people in the office, just because they're the only ones that know how hard this thing is.
Yeah.
And even they tried to help me, and like when I was doing the little exams, they would even get the answers wrong. And they were like, wow, like, man, this is really tough. Like, it's hard. And I was like, that's what I'm saying. And so, like, that's why at the office, they couldn't really get onto my head and be like, hey, like, come on, what are you doing, bro? Like, step it up. They understood how hard it was because they saw how hard it was. And knowing that, you know, no matter how hard the obstacle was, you know, at the end of the day, there's going to be success, you know. You just got to really believe in yourself and really believe who you really are, because I wanted to end and quit so many times. But like that guy at my job said, he gave me this little quote, little saying he told from his dad, and he told him about the king cobra. And there was this guy, he was traveling, let's give it an example, let's say from Texas to California, right? This guy packed all his stuff, right? He's got everything he needs. He's already loaded, right? He's good to go. He's on the way down there with the horse. And so it ends up being the horse breaks his leg. And so now he has to walk just because the horse can't support it, just because it broke his leg.
Yeah.
And like he's almost there, but he's not there just yet. There's a snake that's in the way, and the only way to get through it is by passing the snake. And he said once he reached that snake, he was really, really close on where he was at. Like, he was really close to California and so far from Texas. So he was only like, not too far away. He's already almost at his goal, but that snake is only stopping him. That king cobra is stopping him. And the only way to get through it is to, face it. You gotta get through it because you're almost there. You can't end up quitting, walking like all the way back, where you started and not complete anything. And that's what he was telling me with the situation with the whole insurance. The exam and everything, that's the king cobra. That's my king cobra that's stopping me. I'm right there on my goal, but that's the only thing that's stopping me. Once I get through it, that's when I accomplish all the greatness.
Yeah.
And so I use that example with so many different topics now, just because it's really similar to that. It's really that way of thinking and the stuff he taught me to become more mentally prepared and, just relax and just be patient, because eventually you're going to accomplish it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what he told me, and that's my hardest obstacle, just because, like, it was a hard phase for me, and that's the way I overcame it, and this is the person I am today, And so, like, with this, I feel like we're just about wrapped up. If I don't know if you got anything else to say. Yeah, so
never give up on your goals.
Exactly. See, like,
because if you just put your mind into it, then you can do it.
That's facts.
Literally, like
anything. It can be anything. Your mind is the most powerful thing a human has. Because with your mind, you could do anything with it. You could do anything you want. Anything, literally. And
you just have to put your mind into it.
Yeah,
literally.
Exactly.
Don't let your mind say like negative things. Like, I mean, of course, like, you're gonna have negative thoughts, but don't let them control
you. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, you got to trust your heart. You got to trust your heart, not your mind sometimes. No matter how hard things could be or could get, there's always a solution to everything. So there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And we're just about wrapped up with this whole, podcast. We want to really help you guys out in our personal issues and our personal topics on what we spoke about and how it could benefit y'all. Yeah, guys can find us on Outspoken Vibes Pod on Instagram, and then Outspoken Vibes on TikTok. So far we only have those two channels right now, or like two profiles or accounts. Yeah. But yeah, you can definitely find us there. And of course, just leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. And of course, when y'all comment, let us know on what y'all think, and also let us know on different topics on what we could talk about.
Yeah, because that really helps out a lot too. Yeah. It gives us an idea of what to talk about and what people want to hear.
Exactly. So. And also, like, it also helps us out, understanding on what other topics we could discuss on what y'all need help on, or what could we discuss on our personal problems to build y'all up, as in,
or even build us up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we're just about wrapped up, guys. We appreciate everybody who, stayed out to watch completely the whole podcast, just because it really does mean a lot.
The love and support, it does.
Yeah, it does. And we're out.